Major Payne is one of those movies that is so unserious and hilarious that I do feel a little bit tinfoily for even noticing the underlying themes and messages present in this film. Like, oh, am I cool? Hi, my name is Price, and I have a ton of niche interests that those closest to me are tired of hearing about, so I created an entire series on YouTube for the sole purpose of yapping. Intros out of the way, today we're going to talk about Major Payne. Major Payne is a film that follows Major Vincent Winifred Payne as he adjusts to life as a civilian after being honorably discharged from the military. Shortly after his discharge, Payne gets arrested and is given a new assignment from his former commander. This new assignment, though, would prove to be his most challenging yet, as Payne would be tasked to command JROTC students. The students in question are delinquents and outcasts that don't take too kindly to Major Payne's at times overbearing authority. The film follows as the students resort to pranks and sabotage to drive Payne out of their school, and through their antics they grow closer as a group. Payne, however, through this experience regains his humanity and becomes a role model for the children. Major Payne is an hilarious movie full of absurd phrases that will surely act as your soundboard following your watch. And overall, it's a staple when it comes to the Wayans brothers' treasure trove of comedy. Yet, while watching this film, there are instances of underlying themes or messages that stick out to a person such as me who watches and listens too damn hard, so we're gonna talk about it right now in this video. Major Payne's dismissal from the military is abrupt and comes at a major shock to Payne, who genuinely seems taken aback that he can no longer continue his service. This sudden dismissal prompts Payne to isolate in a small room that we can assume he's renting. The room is dingy, infested with rats, and has only one window for Payne to look out of. Payne also expresses his hunger and infatuation with killing, saying, quote, "It's been 2 whole weeks since I killed me a man, and I'm already starting to get the itch. Problem is, I ain't got nothing to scratch. God, I'm hungry. Hungry for action, hungry for blood." This snippet of his already short monologue encapsulates Major Payne's mental psyche for the first half of the film, and also speaks volumes about the institution that created a killer. Payne was no longer needed and was discarded, something that can be likened to chewing gum and spitting it out once it's lost its flavor or proper texture. It is here in the film where we first realize an unhealthy dynamic that Payne has with the military. It's almost like a toxic relationship, where the military no longer wants him and dumps him, but it's Payne who's left with the permanent mental and I'm sure physical scars from his service. And in this relationship, Payne began to enjoy the thrill of violence and servitude after being in the service for so long. The cruelty that was enacted onto him became his identity, and thus Major Payne being at a total loss after being dismissed comes at no surprise. He also eats a rat shortly after expressing his yearning to kill, and while this is done to offset the serious undertones of Payne's monologue, I would argue that it's still pretty damn sad. Here we have a war veteran, Major Payne, who has to resort to eating a rat to satiate his hunger. This scene alone suggests a disparity, as it would seem that despite Payne's extensive service, he is being neglected both monetarily and mentally by the US government. According to the American Journal of Public Health, in the 1990s, veterans made up to 33% of the homeless population in America. This doesn't include the potential mental illnesses and substance abuse issues that often haunted and still continue to haunt US veterans. Payne, like many veterans, served his country, and when he came back home, there was virtually nothing set in place to assist with such a difficult transition. Can you imagine how difficult it would be to mentally go from active combat zones to trying to find Cheez-Its at your local grocery store? In the film, we often witness Payne exert himself to connect with others in moments of civilian normalcy. For example, when one of the children hugged him, he was genuinely suspecting a knife in the back. Payne often suffers and relishes his flashbacks from war, and he often recounts the horrors he experienced around civilians who are terrified at the things he's witnessed and lived through. And one of the funniest scenes in the film, Payne is telling a young Orlando Bloom a bedtime story about the little engine that could, and it quickly gets dark.
Once upon a time, deep in the jungle, there was a little engine that could. And he was chugging his way across the enemy line. Chugga 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 chugga.
The story starts off okay, I guess, with Payne putting himself in the place of the little engine that could, but it quickly gets dark when he begins to describe his mission to get over a mountain with weapons of mass destruction.
This little engine mission was to take some AK-47s and a nuclear payload over the mountain to the 2063 Battalion.
He begins to spin a tale that ends with his squad mate being mutilated by an enemy's explosion, and Payne having a visceral reaction to the flashback he's having because he's reliving that experience.
It wasn't until Charlie rigged the bridge with plastic explosive, just as the little engine was making its way across the trestle. Boom! An explosion happened. Blood and guts and spit and ass was everywhere. Die, pig, die! You'll never take Major Vincent Winifred Payne alive! Bam! I know what you did to my friends! Bam!
Major!
Damon Wayans is remarkable in this scene. I don't think people give him enough credit. It's almost scary how he can deliver such a jarring monologue with amazing comedic timing and mannerisms that really pull you to laugh instead of sympathize with Major Payne. Payne's flashbacks are frequent in this film and suggest that he has not received the proper mental assistance that someone with his combat experience requires. I do want to say also, I think the film does a great job of expressing the complete confusion of others around him when he has his outbursts. Whether through exaggerated facial expressions or the kind guiding voice of Emily Walburn, the reactions display how baffled others are by Payne's existence, furthering the isolation that Payne would feel post-service. I believe that Payne's quirks can be attributed to his extensive service and subsequent discharge. These quirks can also be applied to his leadership skills and unconventional methods for discipline that we will discuss next. Most of the laughs that may be experienced in this film stem from the way Major Payne disciplines his cadets. With his squad, we see that Payne is seemingly content outside of his military service. This is because through these cadets, he can relive that military experience. Upon meeting his new cadets, Payne is callous in nature and appears at first to not care about the boys' specific circumstances. Payne's drills are strenuous and require the cadets to perform over their presumed abilities. This dynamic breeds resentment among the cadets who lash out at Payne's methods of discipline. One of the first punishments for insubordination is that he shaves their heads and states that they will from here on out behave just like him. This bold move cements for me that Payne sees himself in all the cadets, specifically the youngest of the bunch, Tiger, who arguably saved Major Payne from himself. Major Payne had a full-time job at the age of 6 years old, which suggests that his childhood may have been rough. Tiger is the first person to speak out of turn not in malice, but as a child. At first, Payne struggles in his interactions with Tiger, but eventually he tells Tiger bedtime stories, accepts hugs from him, eliminates closet monsters with extreme prejudice on his behalf, and even dreams about adopting Tiger and being a family with Emily. Through his interaction with Tiger, Payne is able to relive a vital part of his childhood, as when he was Tiger's age, he was working a full-time job trying to survive. Tiger's existence in the movie softened Payne, and I would argue allowed him to connect with the other boys on a deeper level. I'd also like to note that since all Payne knows is military service, he subconsciously attempts to mold Tiger to be in his image. This is evident in the way he demands that Tiger forego bathroom breaks, or when he urges him to stop being childish entirely.
You think I owe you an apology? Want me to take back some of those mean and hurtful little things I said? Okay. I'm sorry you're just a little turd that can't hold your liquid out in public. Now you get on out in my face while I pick you up and toss you out that window.
This isn't because Payne is a villain, it's mostly because it's all he knows. In scenes of Tiger after his interactions with Payne, Tiger is more Payne-ified, like in his stance, the way he dances at the military games, or even when he speaks. Beyond the message of no matter how small you are, you can still be successful, Tiger and Payne's relationship is a testament to how a father figure can shape young men, and how the father determines the character of the son, or even sons when you take into account the other boys' rocky relationship with their parents. When Payne is asked to return to the military, the boys are at a loss, and Payne is once again met with the harsh reality of his service and a confrontation with his love interest, Emily.
You know, when they're through with you, they're just gonna cut you loose again.
I asked to leave. These boys making me soft.
Them boys need you.
This highlights the harsh reality of military service and the great sacrifice that it is for most veterans and active members. Payne had a duty to his country that required him to be away from the people that he maybe liked a lot, and was forced to choose between them or the United States. In Payne's case, he had to choose between a future outside of the military or the inevitability of another discharge. In fact, when Major Payne leaves, Alex takes to imitating him to hype up the boys to continue to keep going onto the military games. This scene, for me, drives home that Payne has found a place outside of himself and outside of the military.
Are you with me? I can't hear you. Sir, yes, sir! Just a little bit louder now. Sir, yes, sir! One more time, you maggot. Sir, yes, sir!
The last thing I'd like to bring up is the continuation of the cycle. To serve in the military is a great honor, and many aspire to be in the military, whether it be a familial thing or a personal choice. I would like to point out the delivery of Payne in his military service. While Payne is arguably not mentally okay due to his frequent flashbacks and endangerment of the cadets, the military is still coveted in this film. Even with a direct result of what military service can do to someone through pain, the military is still an aspect of life that the cadets are aspiring to reach. This is not an aspect of the film that I want to demonize. In fact, this film, like all film, reflects a writer's experience or observation. The military being a staple in this film is a reflection of the foundations of this country and the conflicts that were happening before the film's release in 1995. The cadets that we follow in this film come from rough backgrounds, with parents that are distant, so much so that a lot of them didn't get visitors or had parents to visit them on Parents' Day. Marginalized youth are a common target for military recruiters, as military service is commonly seen as a way out of the youth's current circumstances or hardships. The military doesn't necessarily need stellar minds with above average IQs all the time. For the most part, they need bodies that are going to follow orders and remain disciplined. Payne inadvertently sets his cadets up for a similar life like his own, to where his body was being used as a killing machine. This is one of the aspects of the film that stands out to me blaringly. Despite this classic being an outrageous comedy, Major Payne still delivers a serious message that isn't that elusive to its viewers. I'd in fact argue that Major Payne's struggles are blatantly obvious, and the comedy that is done isn't too overbearing to the point of us viewing his struggles as being nonsensical or absurd. It's okay to laugh. Comedy in itself is a way to bring about discourse in a palpable manner that allows for the audience to choose if they want to look deeper or stop it at the laughter. In fact, I think the humor in this film amplifies Major Payne's successful integration back into civilian life. If he was just an asshole, the cadets wouldn't follow him, Tiger would be terrified of him, and Emily wouldn't even look his way. But, as usual, I want to know what you think. I want to know your thoughts on Major Payne and your favorite lines from the movie. Also, I want to know if my girlies in the audience found Major Payne to be a little bit fine, because he's probably one of my hear me outs right now, I'm not gonna lie. I have been Pyrus, and what I'm about to do now is I'm gonna take my right foot and I'm gonna put it across the left side of your face.
You said you were gonna hit me in the face. What, you calling me a liar?